The Disappearance of Tara Grinstead. Ocilla, Georgia, a small town with a population of just under 3,500, seemed like the perfect place to lead a quiet life. However, on October 22, 2005, this sleepy town became the epicenter of one of the most mysterious and chilling disappearances in recent American history. Tara Grinstead, a beloved 30-year-old high school history teacher and former beauty queen, vanished without a trace. Her disappearance left the community in shock, struggling to comprehend how someone so cherished could simply disappear. What started as a missing person case quickly unraveled into a narrative filled with suspense, fear, and unsettling revelations. The last day Tara was seen alive, she had attended a local beauty pageant where she was coaching young contestants. She was in high spirits, smiling and full of life, recalled Susan, a fellow teacher and friend. After the pageant, she attended a barbecue with friends. That night, Tara returned home, a cozy, single-story house on the edge of town, but she never made it to school the following Monday. When Tara didn't show up for work, alarm bells rang. Her friends and colleagues knew something was terribly wrong. The police were called to perform a welfare check. Inside Tara's home, they found a series of unsettling clues. Her car was in the driveway, the front door was locked, and her cell phone was charging inside. The house appeared undisturbed, but Tara was nowhere to be found. The only signs of a struggle were a broken lamp and a latex glove found in her yard. The glove would later become a crucial piece of evidence, but for now, it only added to the mystery. Tara's family and friends were beside themselves with worry. They described her as reliable, someone who would never leave without informing someone. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The community rallied together, organizing search parties and distributing flyers, but hope began to wane. The case seemed to be growing cold until a peculiar detail surfaced. Several residents recalled hearing dogs barking unusually loud the night Tara disappeared. Could it have been a sign of something sinister happening? Ocilla is a small town where everyone knows everyone. If something bad happens, we all feel it, said Sheriff Hancock, the lead investigator. Despite their efforts, the investigation hit numerous dead ends. It seemed as if Tara had vanished into thin air, and with no substantial leads, the case became one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in Georgia. Years passed, and the story of Tara Grinstead became a ghostly whisper among the townspeople. That was until February 2017, when a sudden and chilling confession brought the case back into the limelight. Ryan Duke, a former student of Tara's, was arrested and charged with her murder. His confession was filled with horrifying details that sent shivers down the spine of everyone who heard it. In the dimly lit interrogation room, Ryan sat across from Sheriff Hancock, his hands trembling. "I didn't mean to do it," he muttered, avoiding eye contact. The sheriff leaned in, his gaze unwavering. "Tell me what happened, Ryan. We need to know." Ryan recounted the night in fragments, each word dripping with regret and fear. "I went to her house. I thought she wasn't home. I just wanted to rob the place, but she caught me," he stammered. His voice cracked as he described the confrontation. Tara had fought back, and in the ensuing struggle, Ryan claimed he accidentally killed her. "I panicked. I didn't know what to do," Ryan continued, his eyes glistening with tears. He confessed to enlisting the help of his friend, Bo Dukes, to dispose of Tara's body. The details of what they did next were enough to haunt the town forever. They had taken Tara's body to a pecan orchard where they attempted to burn it. The revelation was met with disbelief and horror. The once quiet town of Ocilla was now gripped by the gruesome reality of what had transpired. "I can't believe it. We knew Ryan. He was a local boy," said one resident, shaking his head in dismay. As the trial approached, the courtroom was filled with an air of somber anticipation. Family, friends, and townspeople gathered, seeking closure for a wound that had festered for over a decade. The prosecution laid out the harrowing details of Tara's last moments, while the defense painted Ryan as a troubled individual who had made a grievous mistake. In a poignant moment, Tara's mother took the stand. "My daughter was a beacon of light in this community," she said, her voice steady yet filled with sorrow. "We may never fully heal from this tragedy, but we deserve the truth and justice for Tara." The jury deliberated for hours, the weight of their decision palpable. Finally, they returned with a verdict: guilty of murder. Ryan Duke was sentenced, but the scars left by his actions would remain with the community forever. While the resolution of the case brought some sense of closure, the haunting legacy of Tara Grinstead's disappearance continues to linger. Her story serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most idyllic towns, and the profound impact one person can have on a community. Tara's memory lives on, a testament to the enduring human spirit amidst the shadows of unspeakable tragedy. The unsolved murder of JonBenét Ramsey. It was the day after Christmas in 1996 when Boulder, Colorado became the center of a chilling and mystifying case that has haunted the nation for decades. JonBenét Ramsey, a 6-year-old beauty queen, was found murdered in her own home. Her tragic death remains one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in American history, shrouded in suspense and eerie speculation. The Ramsey family, comprising John, Patsy, and their 2 children, Burke and JonBenét, seemed to have it all. John was a successful businessman, and Patsy was a former beauty queen herself, grooming JonBenét to follow in her footsteps. Their grand home was adorned with Christmas decorations, a picture of festive cheer until that fateful morning. On December 26th, Patsy Ramsey woke up early, preparing for a family trip. As she descended the spiral staircase, she stumbled upon a bizarre and terrifying sight: a ransom note demanding $118,000 for JonBenét's safe return. Her scream echoed through the house, waking John and Burke. John, someone has taken JonBenét," she cried, her voice filled with panic and horror. The note, written in a disturbingly calm and deliberate manner, claimed to be from a small foreign faction and warned the Ramseys not to contact the police. However, in her frantic state, Patsy immediately called 911. The police arrived within minutes, but the situation quickly spiraled into chaos. Friends and family flocked to the house, contaminating the potential crime scene. Hours passed with no sign of JonBenét. Desperation mounted. The police conducted a cursory search of the house, but found nothing. It wasn't until later in the afternoon that John, accompanied by a friend, ventured into the basement. What they discovered there would forever alter their lives. In a little used room, John found JonBenét's lifeless body, covered with her favorite white blanket. She had been brutally strangled and sustained a severe blow to the head. A garrote was still wrapped around her neck, fashioned from a piece of broken paintbrush. John carried her upstairs, her small body limp in his arms. "Oh my God, my baby," he wailed, collapsing in grief. The horror of JonBenét's murder stunned the nation. News outlets were ablaze with coverage, and the public was gripped by the sheer incomprehensibility of the crime. The ransom note, the staging of the body, and the conflicting actions of the family all contributed to a sense of profound mystery. The investigation was fraught with missteps and controversy from the start. The Boulder Police Department, unprepared for such a high-profile case, made critical errors. The crime scene was compromised, potential evidence mishandled, speculation and theories flourished, casting suspicion on both the Ramseys and outsiders. Among the many theories, the most chilling involved the possibility of an intruder. The idea that someone could break into the Ramsey home, commit such a heinous act, and then vanish without a trace was deeply unsettling. Yet, there were no signs of forced entry. Investigators were left with more questions than answers. In the heart of the storm was the Ramsey family. Media scrutiny was relentless. Patsy and John were subjected to intense public and police scrutiny. Some believed the crime was an inside job, pointing to the strange ransom note and the fact that JonBenét's body was found in the house. Patsy, especially, became a figure of suspicion. Her composed demeanor in interviews and the perceived inconsistencies in her statements fueled public doubt. "Did you kill your daughter?" an interviewer asked Patsy directly during a televised interview. Her response was firm and unwavering. "No, I did not kill my daughter," she said, her voice steely but laced with anguish. "This is a nightmare I can't wake up from." The investigation dragged on for years, with various suspects emerging only to be cleared. A schoolteacher in Thailand falsely confessed to the crime, but DNA evidence proved his innocence. The lack of conclusive evidence and the bungled early investigation meant the case grew colder with each passing year. Despite the official investigation stalling, the mystery of JonBenét Ramsey continued to captivate true crime enthusiasts and armchair detectives. Online forums buzzed with theories, some plausible, others wildly speculative. The eerie elements of the case, the ransom note, the garrote, the Christmas setting, lent it an almost gothic horror, a real-life whodunit with no satisfying resolution. In 2008, new DNA technology brought a glimmer of hope. Touch DNA testing on JonBenét's clothing identified unknown male DNA, seemingly exonerating the Ramseys. Yet the source of this DNA remained elusive, deepening the mystery further. In the years that followed, John and Patsy Ramsey tried to rebuild their lives, but the shadow of JonBenét's murder loomed large. Patsy, who battled cancer, passed away in 2006 without ever seeing justice for her daughter. John continued to advocate for further investigation, maintaining his innocence and pleading for anyone with information to come forward. The case of JonBenét Ramsey remains unsolved, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. Her story is one of innocence lost, of a community shattered by violence, and of a nation left to grapple with the chilling uncertainty of what really happened that Christmas night. As long as the truth remains buried, the specter of JonBenét will continue to loom, a ghostly figure in the annals of true crime, perpetually asking the same question: who killed JonBenét Ramsey? The mystery of Elisa Lam. In the bustling heart of downtown Los Angeles, the Cecil Hotel stands as a monolithic relic of the city's past. Once a symbol of grandeur, it had become a notorious haven for the downtrodden and the transient. The hotel's dark history only deepened with the chilling and mysterious case of Elisa Lam, a young Canadian student whose tragic fate in 2013 turned the Cecil Hotel into a site of morbid fascination and enduring horror. Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old student from Vancouver, embarked on a solo trip to California, seeking adventure and respite from her studies. On January 26, 2013, she checked into the Cecil Hotel. Elisa maintained an active presence on social media, documenting her travels and experiences. However, her posts abruptly ceased on January 31st, the same day she was last seen. The days that followed her disappearance were filled with mounting concern. Elisa's family, alarmed by the sudden silence, contacted the LAPD, who began an investigation. Flyers with Elisa's photo were plastered around the city, but there were no leads. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Then, on February 13, 2013, the LAPD released a bizarre piece of evidence: surveillance footage from the Cecil Hotel's elevator. The video, time-stamped January 31st, showed Elisa behaving erratically. She entered the elevator, pressing multiple buttons before retreating into a corner. She peered out into the hallway, as if hiding from someone or something unseen. At times, she seemed to be speaking or gesturing to an invisible presence. The footage was both eerie and unsettling. Elisa's movements were disjointed. Her expressions ranged from fearful to almost playful. "What is she doing?" a detective muttered, watching the footage repeatedly. The video quickly went viral, sparking a flurry of speculation and theories. Some suggested she was fleeing from a pursuer. Others believed she was experiencing a mental health crisis. As days turned into weeks, the mystery deepened. The hotel's guests began to complain about low water pressure and an odd taste in the tap water. On February 19th, maintenance worker Santiago Lopez was dispatched to the rooftop water tanks to investigate. What he discovered was the stuff of nightmares. "I'll never forget it," Santiago later recounted, his voice shaking. "I opened the hatch of one of the tanks and saw her, floating there." Elisa's lifeless body was found in one of the hotel's 4 water tanks, her clothes floating beside her. The gruesome discovery horrified both the police and the public. The circumstances surrounding Elisa's death were baffling. The water tanks were difficult to access, requiring a ladder and significant effort to open. How had Elisa ended up inside one? The autopsy report provided few answers. There were no signs of physical trauma or sexual assault, and toxicology tests revealed only trace amounts of prescription medication used to treat her bipolar disorder. The official cause of death was ruled as accidental drowning, but the lack of clarity only fueled further speculation. How had Elisa, a young woman in the throes of a mental health episode, managed to access the rooftop and the water tank on her own? Could there have been foul play involved? Theories ranged from the plausible to the paranormal. Some suggested Elisa had been murdered and her body disposed of in the tank. Others believed she was under the influence of a supernatural force, citing the Cecil Hotel's haunted history. Among those captivated by the case was journalist Lauren Thompson, who decided to delve deeper. "There's something here that doesn't add up," she said, poring over police reports and interviewing hotel staff. She discovered that the Cecil Hotel had a notorious past, linked to numerous deaths, suicides, and even housed serial killer Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, in the 1980s. During her investigation, Lauren uncovered another chilling detail. Elisa had written about feeling watched and uneasy during her stay. "There's this sense of dread," Lauren said, quoting Elisa's blog post, "almost as if the walls are closing in on me." The more Lauren dug, the darker the story became. She interviewed former guests who spoke of ghostly encounters and an oppressive atmosphere in the hotel. "It felt like the building was alive," one guest described, "like it had its own malevolent intent." Despite the extensive investigation and widespread public interest, the case of Elisa Lam remained unsolved. The eerie elevator footage, the inexplicable circumstances of her death, and the macabre history of the Cecil Hotel all combined to create a narrative that was equal parts tragedy and horror. Years after Elisa's death, the mystery continues to haunt those who followed her story. The Cecil Hotel, rebranded but forever tainted, stands as a silent witness to the unfathomable events that transpired within its walls. Elisa Lam's name has become synonymous with the inexplicable, a reminder of how some stories remain unsolved, their truths buried beneath layers of fear and uncertainty. The chilling legacy of Elisa Lam endures, a ghostly echo in the annals of true crime. Her tragic end remains a haunting puzzle, a spectral presence that refuses to fade away. The questions linger, whispering in the dark corners of the mind. What really happened to Elisa Lam in the Cecil Hotel?